Hello, my lovely friends. I'm Michaela. Welcome to my astrology channel, Today Energy. This video is a general yearly forecast for 2023 for all of you born with ascendant, sun, and or moon in Libra. So, dear Libras, this video is dedicated to you. Let's check the most important astrological events for next year, 2023. Well, depends when you are watching this, but it's focused on the 12 months of 2023. And of course, on a global scale, we are expecting quite a dynamic year since 3 outer slower planets are changing signs, as well as the karmic lunar nodes. So this implies certainly a big social shift, but whether these transits will affect and influence you very much depends purely on your natal chart, and more specifically on the positions, the locations, the degrees of your personal planets and important points like ascendant, descendant, IC, MC. That is why, of course, I hope you know your chart. If not, you can easily build it in a website like astro.com or astroseek.com, where you have to introduce your place, date, and specific time of birth, and the website builds for you your chart where you can see your degrees. I will try to do this general forecast as much personal as I can. I will be mentioning specific degrees, and even let me share the screen here with you. You will see what I have prepared, dear Libras. It's a picture of the sky at some point at the beginning of 2023. So it's a static picture. I will not be able to move the planets. Those are the transiting planets. So I will be just pointing with my mouse and explaining what's going on, which planet goes where, which degrees it covers. But I made sure that this wheel is built with first house in your sign, Libra. So this is a whole sign system used here for this general forecast. Otherwise, on my personal consultations, I work mostly with Placidus system. Sometimes I combine it with the whole sign. So in this case, you won't see here any, of course, personal planets, because this is not a natal chart of a specific individual. So I don't know where you have your Sun, where you have your Mercury, where you have your Mars. But we will be talking about areas of life that correspond to so-called astrological houses, which are built from, in this case, from Libra rising, or if your sun is here, or if your moon is here. All right, so let's dive in. At the beginning of the year, on the 12th of January, after 2.5 months of retrograde movement, Mars is getting back direct. Once again, he will move direct. That's a great news, because for Mars is the most comfortable to be fast, to be speedy, and of course to look ahead and to move direct. Well, I must say that around the 12th of January might be some more intense days for all of us as a society, and of course for you especially. You have to try to avoid some conflicts and confrontations around the 12th of January, but then already all the topics that Mars rules in your chart, and as well as the topics from the house occupied by Gemini in your chart, will go full steam ahead. If before that, for the last 2.5 months, you felt a bit stuck in those areas of life, or there were misunderstandings or intense moments and frustrations, now there is time to, to repair them, to proceed and gain momentum ahead. And we're talking about your second house topics, you see, because it falls in Scorpio for you, and Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. So work matters, financial matters, topics related to food and care of your body, topics related to possessions and buy and sell things, investing of money, as well as your self-esteem, your self-confidence now are pretty much boosted. And you can ask for the money you think you deserve at work. You can go for work interviews and so on. It's gonna go way better now. Besides this, Mars rules your 7th house of interpersonal relationships, and this might be once again related to work interviews, because you sit on one table with someone, they offer you contracts, you need to negotiate, or it can mean, of course, personal relationships or business and professional partnerships, relationships with your clients, with your advisors, lawyers, and so on. So this as well, after 2.5 months of reconsidering, now maybe you are meeting new people, or you gain better understanding and agreements with the existent partners in your life. And last but not least, we see that all these maneuvers of Mars are happening in Gemini, and that is your 9th house. So court cases now can be solved, or at least moving in some direction. Matters related to traveling, to higher education, publishing, international relationships and relations and affairs. Overall, 9th house talks about our faith, our hopes, our worldviews, direction in life, what we look forward to achieve ahead. So this all now, it's much more vivid, and there is much more energy and optimism into going for what you want to achieve as well. This house can talk about conferences, seminars, some social events, your participation in them, you shining out and being the expert and being the celebrity, meeting your idols and so on. So all this moves now in a proper direction. Then another important event is on the 8th of March, when Saturn moves into Pisces. He will spend in Pisces about 2.5 years, 3 years, until February 2026. And last time Saturn was in Pisces was between 1993 and 1996. So maybe you would like to go back in time in your memories, because it's the same player, Saturn, it's the same Pisces, your 6th house. So possibly some similar topics, events, experiences might happen now as they were happening in your life between 93 and 96. We must mention that before the 8th of March, until the 8th of March, Saturn was transiting Aquarius, that is your 5th house, for the last 2.5 years. So 5th house is about joy, pleasure, romance, being childish, being popular, expressing and showing off your talents, artistic work, business, love, fun, faith in yourself. And Saturn is such a strict, rigid planet. Saturn just likes to organize everything, put into order. And of course, maybe it was a bit tough and draining to have Saturn in such a transit in your natal chart for the last couple of years, because Saturn is serious and requires discipline. Why? Because Saturn is the planet of karma and of time. So he's against wasting your most precious thing we have, all of us, and that's our lifetime. And of course, maybe he needed to restrict your social life, party time, hanging out time with other people, just as kind of, wasteful, superficial activities. Saturn wants the real deal, nothing superficial. And in this case, the real deal in, first of all, personal relationships, romantic relationships. On one hand, maybe you were preferring Saturnian people, a bit elder, like parent-like partner, maybe someone with higher status, maybe someone more aloof, more cold, more strict, or more wise, right? On the other hand, in those personal relationships, you would be looking for commitments, for responsibilities, for stability, for, you know, if I dedicate time to you, if I spend with you 2 months, 5 months, then I want to know what are our plans on the long run, right? Because Saturn wants things to be long lasting and sustainable, not just one night stands and just have fun for the weekend. This is not Saturn's game, really. So he was organizing and disciplining you in having fun, in romantic relationships. Maybe he was narrowing down the amount of your dates, you know, and you know, less is more according to Saturn, and maybe less people in choice, but more quality. This is what Saturn wants. And the same thing goes about your hobbies, passion, your creative self-expression. On one hand, unfortunately, Saturn might bring here fears like stage fear, fears that people will not appreciate you, that audience will not applaud you. You know, so much relying, but that's what Saturn teaches you here. Don't rely on others' approval. You are your own person, your own king or queen. You have your genius inside of you. You have your talents. And yes, maybe Saturn requires you to work harder to discover your talents or to explore them and show them to the world. You know, if we talk about artistic creations, they're not spontaneous, they're not instinctual, but you need preparation, you need work, you need negotiations with other people. Maybe if you want to have an exhibition, that is choosing the premises, that is renting them, organizing your images, you know, so it might be a bit stressful and it's hard work. As well, if you're a writer or blogger, it is learning, it is practicing. So, and more you practice and more gradually you go, the more patient you are, the more sustainable results you gain. And then at the end, Saturn wants you to be proud of yourself, but not just this inflation, like a balloon pride, right? It's more about knowing who you are, knowing your strong core, knowing your great achievements, knowing the effort, like the sweat you put into them, and hence no one anymore can shake your inner self-reliance and self-esteem. And you know the value of your talents, you know they truly exist. Well, also talking about talents and creativity, Saturn is a very structured planet. So maybe with this transit, you showed interest into things like architecture, like sketching, drawing, especially some black and white colors, because Saturn's color is black or gray or brown. Maybe you liked pottery, geometry. So, you know, creating something with shape and something material and tangible. Also, we talk about business with 5th house. So, of course, Saturn here would imply that your hobby and what you are good at and what you actually receive pleasure from doing, you can turn it into business. But again, it will need more discipline. Let's say if you have Instagram account for the little toys you are creating or the cakes you are baking, and you just post randomly, but now suddenly people can start ordering from you these cakes or toys. So you would need to work more to have schedule to post even your posts on certain times according to the algorithms of Instagram and so on. And of course, you don't do it anymore just out of pure inspiration. You have to do it because you have orders and you have to deliver. But this brings you again success and of course money and good reputation, right? But again, here you should care less about what others think and be more self-secure. And last but not least, 5th house is children. And of course, Saturn is the planet of big responsibilities. So in this last 2.5 years, some of the Libras probably gave birth. Or somehow you started working with children. Maybe you became a mentor or a teacher, or you started working or helping in a foster's house, or you became a nanny or something like that, or you became an uncle, an auntie. But it requires some kind of commitment and care about something you create, like art project, business, or a child. And I must tell you, Saturn is the Lord not only of time, so anything we start here with Saturn will require our attention, effort in a long run, and a lot of time consumption. But at the same time is the planet of karma. So if you gave birth or you are pregnant now, that means that this soul decided, a soul on in the universe, in the sky, decided that they want to come here in your world, through your body, through you being a parent, learn some life lessons through you. Because Saturn is also the archetype of a teacher. But in this case, fifth house, maybe the child that now appears in your life will be your greatest teacher, or you will be kind of experiencing and repaying your karma through becoming the teacher, the guide in this world to a new soul. And this is huge responsibility, right? And usually Saturn wants us to be prepared for such a thing. That's why maybe other Libras were trying to get pregnant, to have kids during this transit, but it was not possible because Saturn is like also drying out planet, cooling planet. So it's like against fertility. That's why I'm saying whoever got pregnant here, it's a karmic thing. You were meant to become a parent. Saturn cycle is 29 years. 28, 29 years. So whatever here we start in the fifth house, like a business, a hobby, a child, imagine how many years it will require our attention and effort, and like the final ending of the cycle, let's say your child then growing and studying and then getting their own life and leaving you, will happen in 29 years. Or now you're finishing a cycle, because looking at transits through your fifth house, we can see how your children are actually feeling now. So they're feeling either repressed, oppressed somehow. They face the reality, they face life rules. Maybe they went abroad, so there is some distance between you to study, and now they have to study and work at the same time. So they're busy, they get a bit tired, they mature, they become older, they face reality. Or maybe your child has a child now, so you become grandparent. But this is a huge, there you go, another cycle of 29 years of responsibility, but this time maybe for your child, or maybe they start their own business or something along these lines. Maybe they buy a house, but certainly more responsibility for them. And yeah, talking about karma, karma is not punishment. Karma is just the law of natural causes and consequences, cause and effect. So Saturn just usually, the house he transits through our natal chart, and the planets he picks on his way, like with conjunction, opposition, or square usually. Well, these topics, we open our eyes, or Saturn opens our eyes for, we reap what we sow. We receive what we have what we deserve according to our previous efforts, whether in this lifetime or in the previous lives. Now we kind of just deal with the logical consequences, basically. So then Saturn, remember, on the 8th of March moves into Pisces, and according to the whole sign system, this is your 6th house. So okay, your inspiration and love life can now breathe in calmly, and it's like releasing a bit the tension in these areas of life. But now Saturn starts revising, cleaning, streamlining, and structuring your daily routine, your schedule, your commitments and responsibilities, your work, and your health. and your habits. So remember that Saturn is very practical. He wants you here to face and deal with all the problems in your life, because sixth house talks about imbalances in life, about broken things that needs to be fixed, about things that need to be repaired, like home, a car, health issues, work issues, help some relatives, help some friends, and so on. But here Saturn asks you to prioritize, not to run around stressed and in panic and burn out as a result. Look, here is also Neptune. Neptune in 2023 will cover the area between 22 degrees Pisces and 27 degrees Pisces. But overall, being co-present in your sixth house, Neptune can give you a bit feeling of being lost, that you have so many things to deal with and you're so tired, so confused. Neptune would be this sense of I'm a victim, poor me, or I'm the rescuer. I have to help Aunt Mary and Uncle Jimmy and their dog and their cat and my cousins, and at home the roof is leaking. But I feel like I don't know what to even where to start from, right? So Saturn here will help Neptune structure himself and basically avoid this either laziness or distractions or this low productivity in a very phased manner, like regulated, methodically, you know, without trying to cut corners, honestly. Work, but also have a very good routine, very good regime. Like every day I wake up at 7, then at 7:30 I have breakfast, or at 8 o'clock I go running. So, right, it's very important for Saturn not to feel stressed, but to have schedule, a routine, and keep it every day the same, really, in order to fulfill practically, efficiently, the more you can. Saturn wants order in your home, in your life, in your routine and habits, and in your office. So yes, regular and constant schedule, it's important, because sixth house rules your employees, people who help you at home, people whom you hire. Maybe those are the workers at your home, or the technicians who repair your car, or your nanny, or the house cleaning assistants. And here they might see you as a very strict, cold leader. But it's good for, you know, good organization. You have to be kind of cool-headed. You can be a little bit detached, yeah, not so much involving emotionally in all these people's life. You are together in an office. Most probably you are hiring them, and you were hired as a manager to be efficient and productive. And this is what you must do through giving precise orders and to everyone to know their own responsibilities. Regarding the diet, you might become here a bit more ascetic, more strict with your diet. Maybe you will turn into fasting, whether like through Christian fasting habits, you know, like before Christmas or before Easter, or you will research more about things like Ekadashi, right, coming from the Indian culture and their holidays. I believe Ekadashi is like one day, one particular moon day, maybe the 11th moon day of the month, but I'm not sure, you have to check it. But basically, again, it's maybe not, obviously, it's not about starving yourself, because yes, Saturn, it's very restrictive, and here he can be restricting your appetite, and you might go very basic with, you know, Saturn doesn't like excess, Saturn doesn't like superficiality, he is only the necessary thing. And Saturnian diet is very rigid. It's like from the medieval times, you know, just like porridge and potatoes and bread and potatoes and porridge, for instance. But of course, this is, you have always, you should care about diverse diet in a sense of getting the minerals, the vitamins, the microelements. Don't deprive yourself from these important things, but maybe regularly you will do some cleansing days, right? Like this Ekadashi, or some fasting before some important Christian holidays, or just one day per week. You will be having this liquid diet or something like this, right? But drinking not only water, but let's say juices, smoothies, and so on. And because also Neptune in the 6th can give you some kind of food poisoning, or sometimes some intoxications. It can give you some bad habits, especially related to alcohol, or even, I am afraid to mention it, but I will, some kind of drugs to escape the harsh reality and its duties and responsibilities. For this thing, Saturn coming to your 6th house is good, because he will basically release from your life all these toxic substances and bad habits. Also, talking about Neptune here, he might be related to psychosomatics or mysterious illnesses that you cannot diagnose. So you just feel bad, but you don't know why. And here Saturn might help with the like knowing what's the physical reason, even though I truly believe that all the signals we receive from our bodies, like symptoms, are just signals and signs related to our mental, emotional, psychological disorders and instabilities, and we have to work with them. But already physical expressions is when it's almost too late, but not yet, because the body already starts waving you the red flags that you have to change something. And in this case, it might be related to your habits. Now, Saturn rules bones, teeth, hair. So there might be some problems with Saturn in the house of health with these topics and parts of your body. So in this case, again, very important is the diet, the routine. So it's always like, obviously, personal hygiene, brushing your teeth twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, stretching, exercising, but be careful with your joints, with your bones, drink more calcium, right? But again, maybe you have too much excess of calcium. So it's very important here not to be just suggesting and dreaming and supposing, but you have to be strict and sure, maybe make some examination of your blood and see what vitamins you have to supply more and what you have in excess, for instance. Regarding job, now when Saturn was transiting my 6th house, I actually it was my previous job, and at the beginning I really loved my previous job. I was a tourist guide, and of course I was a freelancer, so I was working for myself. But because I was alone in a foreign country, and I got so scared that, let's say, tourism is big on the summertime and Christmas, but then nothing much is going on like February, March, and January maybe, right, in the autumn, November. So I thought I have to work a lot in order to gain enough income for the whole year. So basically I burned out. And when Saturn reached this was when Saturn was in my 5th house, when my hobby about, my passion about history, art, architecture, culture, traveling, when it solidified and manifested as I will make money with this. Yeah. Besides this, my natal Saturn is in my 5th house, so it was a Saturn return. So either I was getting pregnant and having a child, or I was creating not a child, but you see, my own kind of business. So I did it with tour guiding. But then when Saturn moved in the 6th house, it was actually not long time after, right? Like 2 years later, I was extremely tired, frustrated, burned out, and almost like depressed. I think I clearly was depressed, in fact, because I was not feeling any joy from my work. I was bored. I was pretty much almost hoping that there would be no clients coming to the tour today, no tourists, I will go home and it was crazy because my income depended on this. So basically here my advice with Saturn in 6th house is, yes, if you feel so bad about your work, and especially if you are made redundant or the office closed or the company bankrupted and you suddenly stay without work, remember that Saturn is the karma lord. So he came here to show you that this occupation was not aligned to your true talents, which you just discovered, right? Like a year ago, and your true life mission and what you can give to the world, enjoy it and earn money from it. But if you just feel like, meh, like I'm a bit tired, then just don't despair, don't give up, don't make rush actions, because it might be really just stupid tiredness. And you might really need like a sabbatic year. And I mean, not just a weekend to relax or not just 5 days on holidays. No, sometimes people need to be more detached from what they have like too much already. So if you lose your work, if some health issues come on the spotlight, then you have to change something in your, you have to think deeper about what are the reasons for that. As about work, what you truly want to do in your life. As about health, then start taking care of yourself. Exercises, diet. Exercises must be just regular, yeah? It's not about sprinting, it's about a marathon. You have to spread it to a long run. And yeah, of course, if it's about, yeah, and remember that it's Saturn is the big revisor, kind of controller. So he comes, he controls, he assesses things, and he removes everything that is not needed and not necessary. Oh, well, in fact, I did not even quit my job, but COVID came. Look at that. Like, I was stubborn enough to continue doing my job because I was a very good tour guide. And everyone were happy, clients and touristic agencies. But COVID came. What a karma, right? Like all the world suffered. And in my case, I lost my job. So I had to move out of this country where I was living alone because I could not even pay my rent anymore. I actually lost quite a lot of weight as well back then. And yeah, and I decided that I can dive way deeper and more professional into what I love as well, and that is astrology and, esoteric science overall. So the Saturn karma, the world helped me. So that meant that maybe that city, that country was no longer meant for me anymore. Remember that Saturn never brings undue pressure. That's always there is some reason, and it's the law of cause and effect and the karma, that something happens in the life area where Saturn is transiting at the moment. And he's the big spring cleaning, basically, just that this big spring cleaning will last in your every time for about 2.5 years in each area of life. Very importantly, avoid sense of guilt, sense of fear, especially if it's about kind of prioritizing to whom you can be helpful, to whom you can assist, and to whom not, because Saturn will bring some order here as well. On the other hand, in order not to burn out and just to make it work and no play, it's good to have Neptune here. In its positive aspect, Neptune is, of course, capability to relax, to soften things. So he might soften this Saturnian Sparta way of living, so you don't feel like in a military service in some barracks overall in your daily routine, like wake up at 6, get to sleep at 7 when the sun goes down, right? No, Neptune will introduce a bit more gentleness to yourself. Maybe you will be stretching in a yoga class, or you will go from time to time to some painting sessions, acupuncture, swimming. Swimming is very, very healthy for all your body. Maybe you will use essential oils when you will be kind of stressed out or, not feeling high on energy. So Neptune will introduce this more understanding, more compassion to yourself, to your body, more alternative medicine. Okay, then the next heavy topic we want to talk about is Pluto. For the last 15 years, Pluto was transiting Capricorn, that is your 4th house. And a very historical moment we will experience collectively on the 23rd of March 2023, when Pluto will enter for the first time since its discovery in 1930. He will enter for the first time in the sign of Aquarius. Wow, that will really bring a big social shifts. He will stay in Aquarius for 20 years, till 2024. Now, in 2023, he will manage just to dip his toe here. He will reach only the 0 degree and 21 minutes of the sign of Aquarius. Each sign is composed of 30 degrees, and every degree has 60 minutes. So that's why 0 degree 21st minute is not even the whole 1st degree of Aquarius. Then he will turn retrograde, and in the summer of 2023, Pluto will return to Capricorn and once again reach the, going backwards, once again he will come back to the 27 degree and 50th minute of Capricorn. So what I want you to notice, the sign of Capricorn makes a square to your sign. And of course, about 14 years ago, when Pluto was just starting its transit, who felt it the most? Well, the early Libras, right? Then the Libras born in the middle of your season or in the middle of the sign with your rising sign, sun or moon. And next year, 2023, Libras who have sun, moon or rising sign in the last 3 degrees of Libra will be precisely squared by Pluto. Also, if your point called IC, it's always opposite the MC point, the career point, is always linked, it's the same line basically, with the point called IC that is like quintessence of your home topics, the topics of your family, your past, your personal life, your inner emotions, your sense of security and stability, your memories. Well, if your IC happens to be in the last 3 degrees of Capricorn, or even in the 1st degree of Aquarius, because this is a kind of a floating point, it does depend on the location of your birth geographically and on the time, the minute of your birth. So in this case, Pluto will be dancing on your IC. Now, let's see what this means. First, the square. The square, of course, is an intense, a challenging aspect, and Pluto acts through pushing, through fighting for control, power struggles. Pluto makes you meet your fears. He can unlock your survival instinct. He can produce some internal or external turmoils, shakeups, cataclysms, in order to make you experience some deep inner transformations, in order for you to purge unnecessary things, toxic things from yourself, from your life, in order for you to experience this catharsis, this rebirth. Mind you that not every single person on this earth in their lifetime will experience such a Pluto transit, which means a conjunction, an opposition, or a square to their rising sign or sun or moon, but you clearly have experienced it already, or you will this year. By the way, the ones born with sun, moon, or rising sign at 29th degree, then I must say that for the very last time, I promise for the last time, Pluto will square you in the autumn of 2024. Yeah, because for the last time he will return back to the very last degree of Capricorn, and then he will be already going purely and only through Aquarius. That is why, so importantly, that next year, even though only for 3 months, dipping his toe into Aquarius, already we will have this foretaste, you know, this moment of picking what's going on, what will we experience in the next 20 years when he will be slowly but surely crossing Aquarius. Now, while Pluto was in Capricorn, and when he was triggering or will trigger your IC, that is very much speaking about huge transformations in your private life, in your home and family environment, in your emotional world. So maybe something happens important in the life of your parent. Maybe you're reassessing models of and patterns of behavior and principles that were input in you since your childhood by your parents, by your family. So maybe now you are transforming them, like, you know, pulling them to the ground, destroying them, because you don't find yourself in those things. They don't no longer serve you. So you create, like, my own family, my life, my rules, my home, my rules. Maybe now you are experiencing this process of separation from your parents. You move away, you move abroad, or quite the opposite. Maybe you rediscover your ancestry, your ancestors, your family tree, your homeland, your mother language, or the origins of your father and their language. So you learn them, you go to visit this country, you meet people from this land. Maybe you're doing a deep analysis and research. Yeah, Pluto is to dive very deep, to be obsessed with something. And you might be obsessed with your family lineage, with secrets from the past. You know, Pluto is actually talking about huge vulnerability. That is why the survival instinct, because Pluto thinks that if someone discovers my secrets, I will die. That is why he's so much like, you know, burying things under the ground, but he himself then cannot anymore longer like survive it, and he can explode like a volcano. And all those vulnerabilities, fears, secrets, they come out to the surface. So in order for this not to happen in so dramatic and traumatic way, you have to be like a bare bone, you know, like super mega honest with yourself about your past, about your family, about the secrets there. You no longer have to carry this burden on your shoulders because of other people who put it on you when you were a child. Maybe you will remember some traumatic experiences from the past and from childhood. And even though you would not like to deal with it, you have to, because Pluto is the detective, is the surgeon. So he wants to cut open the old wounds, you know, so all the nastiness can come out in order to heal the patient, right? To heal your emotional world. And maybe you will realize you don't feel safe at home anymore. That's why you will have to move away. But, you know, like, yes, of course, you should avoid confrontations and power struggles and dangerous situations. But in psychological aspects, it talks about liberation. It talks about honesty in order to regain your power, to empower yourself, especially if if Pluto is squaring your sun, moon, or rising sign. It might mean some huge transformation of yourself, of your body, of how you start things, of how other people see you, transformation of your environment. I have seen friends and clients when they have this transit of Pluto on their IC, and hence also MC across the circle, their status changes. So they change the name in their passport and ID card because they get married, or they divorce, or they take the surname of their mom, you know, some maiden name from the past. They give birth, they sell property, they move abroad. So very significant things that happen usually once in your life. But most importantly, it's about you digging deep, like making a self-analysis of your inner core. So here very much would help working with professional therapists, psychologists, doing more research about esoteric studies. Like if you're watching these videos, that it means you are already interested in astrology, in ancient philosophy, in tarot, and not just ways to, kind of make spells or magic or something like this, but something much deeper, much more psychological and philosophical. You have to become like your own foundation, your own base. You have to learn to rely mostly on yourself and to let go of feeling of shame, of guilt, or of shaming and saying that your parents are guilty. And just, it's about like finding this power to truly and honestly release, let go, forgive or quit toxic relationships. But first of all, there must be awareness about them, right? First comes the awareness, and then we decide what to deal with the problem. Like the monsters, the skeletons come out from the closet or from the ground, and we need to meet them, to understand them, and then already to forgive and to transform. You might be also, because Pluto is huge finances and everything big and serious and luxurious. So maybe you will acquire a big house, you will invest money in a property, you will make business out of property, or you will participate in a family business. Or of course, you will discover your big ambitions about becoming a parent and having a family, or about your position in the world and your image and responsibilities and mission in the world. Right. And then the good news is that once Pluto will be transiting through Aquarius already, without getting back to Capricorn, he will be trining your sign. Yeah, two air signs, they form a trine to each other. So Pluto will actually be way softer to you and will purely help you to grow, to evolve, and to regain your power and self-control. And also, looking ahead, I will tell you that Pluto transiting your 5th house, you see, right after Saturn made his streamlining, organization, cleansing, making you more strict, more responsible about 5th house topics. And Saturn is more about like physical manifestations. And then he leaves further into your 6th house. And then comes Pluto here, already diving even deeper, even in a more psychological level, making additional purges, making sure that you learned your lessons from Saturn. So maybe when Saturn was here, you gave birth, or you started planning having children. Maybe you started like working something in order to get health insurance, social insurance, in order to later receive maternity leave, in order to, maybe you took a loan, mortgage to build a house in order to have a space for, for decent life for your children, or with your partner you separated and you found a new one, like more mature, who already wants as well children like you. So you form a family, and now Pluto comes here and faces you with either the reality of raising a child, of building a connection with a child, of this interpersonal dynamic with your child, or interpersonal dynamic with your lover, with your loved one. or maybe you are giving a birth. Yeah, for younger Libras, one of these 20 years transit can be the year of your pregnancy and giving birth to your firstborn child is 5th house. Maybe here you will realize what I was talking about, that it was a karmic pregnancy, karmic child, and they have to teach you something, or you have to teach them something, that it's a connection from past lives with your child, and now some of you have to repair a debt from, you know, from past lives. Be very careful when you start relationships in those 20 years, because, okay, on one hand, it can be with Plutonian type of people, which means very deep, very passionate, like Scorpio, very Scorpionic. But also, mind you, they can be obsessive, they can be jealous, they can be insecure, that they can be hyper protective. There can be toxic, they can be stalkers, there can be abusers. You know, I don't want to scare you, but it's a warning that, you know, wherever Pluto goes, he uses the circumstances and people represented by this area of life, by this house of the natal chart, to teach us to face our own fears, our own subconscious. Because if we don't look at the mirror, if we don't communicate with the world, if we don't create something or, you know, work on something in the jungle, if you are alone with the, you know, with the trees, you will not learn about yourself. And yes, Pluto teaches us through difficult and scary sometimes experiences, but it's, once again, it's to empower us, it's to make clear and make clean things, and then just, you know, maybe sometimes it's about start life from a clean slate. And in this case, your love affairs might teach you your own hidden side, the blind spot of your psyche, your darker side as well. Maybe you'll discover that you can be very jealous, that you have attachment issues that come from your early childhood, that you are obsessive about partners. Then you have to dig deep and ask yourself the question, why? It's all about self-analysis here, not just, you know, some shit is happening. No, remember the cause and effect, why the shit is happening, and how can I react on this, right? Because remember, 5th house is also our talents, so you might discover your talents in finances, in psychology, in being a detective, in being an investigator, right? In being educator of children with special needs, in working with children who experienced abuse, right? You can be helpful to children, or you can be helpful to artists if you can invest money into their art and help them grow and develop. You can be helpful to your inner child and ask yourself now questions. Why am I afraid to be on stage? Why am I so shy? Why I don't show to the world my true nature and my great talents, even though they are different, or, you know, even though I like, let's say, esoterics and people are laughing at me, right? Like, I have to be powerful enough and regain my self-control, my power, and be myself and be very, very honest. Yeah. Also, creativity and inspiration. Well, you can gain from something more extreme, passionate, right? Pluto. Or, your creativity might be very intense. You see, Pluto has no breaks. Pluto is all obsessive, all or nothing. So here, please be careful with speculative, risky investments. Don't do gambling. Don't do bad habits. You know, 5th house is, you know, party, fun, maybe just having this sexual relationships, and Pluto can be either very deep and intense one, or multitude, plenty of them. So ask yourself, do you need this type of experiences? Are you trying to mask or forget something that hurts you from inside through just empty parties and just fun? But maybe it can damage your health even, right? So be very self-aware here. So yeah, regarding art, you can be, if you're a painter, for example, you can be very intense and just like paint 3 days in a row without stopping, without eating. Yeah, so mind yourself, mind like your life, your diet, as Pluto can make you super obsessed by some sources of fun and pleasure, or by something very creative. But you can create something related to topics of psychology, of sexuality, raise awareness about victimhood or about violence, you know, somehow like your art can include some social topics like this. It might put the question about self-control, control issues, let's say home violence, children violence, or something like this. So, you know, it can be expressed as a performance, for example. Also, if you are working on your own subconscious and your psychology, then you can do it through more creative ways, like this unconscious drawing, painting, using some, I don't know, tarot cards, for instance, to dig deeper. And yeah, you might be, as a hobby, you might be very much also interested in esoterics or psychology. Okay, so now into the more light and pleasant part of the year and the forecast. Let's see what the planet Jupiter will do in 2023. Well, up to 17th of May, Jupiter will walk through your 7th house from 2nd degree of Aries till the end of Aries. So Jupiter will be nicely stimulating your relationship area. So Jupiter is expansive planet. It's a lot. So you can have a lot of admirers, big choice of people who are interested in you, big choice of clients, big choice of business partners, amazing propositions. You can do some lucrative deals, some very beneficial agreements. You can meet some people who are larger than life, who are very generous. You can meet your spouse, your future spouse, because Jupiter represents the husband in female charts. You can work with children, because Jupiter also in ancient Vedic astrology represents kids. Your partners might be from abroad, foreigners. You can communicate a lot with tour guides, people from international environment, people from the legal field, like lawyers or judges, teachers, mentors, writers, publishers, priests. Of course, Jupiter in 7th house is great for marriage, for proposals, establishing and building a family. But even if you will be divorcing, you know, it means that it will be very happy period for you, very liberating. So yeah, large scale deals and successful agreements. And then Jupiter goes into Taurus. I believe till the end of 2023, he will manage to reach just the 15th degree of Taurus, well, the middle of the sign, kind of. And Taurus is all these relationships, but already way deeper, with much more trust and sharing. Let's say if it's with a spouse, it's about sharing household. It's about creating together something like a child, for example. If it's about business partners, then it's mutual and common investments in business. It's about sharing resources. 8th house talks about business and money you get from your clients. So here Jupiter can expand your business. Jupiter can bring even more pleasure and trust from your personal and intimate relationships. Jupiter can bring in your 8th house possibilities of financial income, but like passive income. So paying off of your investments, family business, your partner can grow in their work, in their financial situation, more income for partners. You can get the loan, the mortgage that you desire, and it can be quite big amount of money, but here you must at least try to stay realistic and kind of estimate if you will be able then to repay your credits, your loans and mortgages, because now you can get like a lot of them and big ones. You might experience a lot of interest and joy from psychological work, from esoteric knowledge. 8th house is Scorpionic house ruled by Pluto, so it does speak about crisis situations, about deep inner self-analysis, about emotional transformation. So here Jupiter is very welcomed to bring you specialists who will help you, like psychologists, like a group of people who will be on your side. Astrologer, tarot reader who will help you. And overall, you might feel like you will have more hope and more faith that you will overcome whatever difficulties you meet in your life. You will be more convinced that you will successfully deal with fears, with phobias, with traumas, with negative situations, if any, in your life. You will be like more adventurous even in your intimate relationships, like open up a bit if you had some insecurities or trust issues before that. Jupiter will help you fight with all of this, and not fight, but more like understand yourself, understand the reason for these things, dive deep into your subconscious and overcome it and heal. And last but not least, simply maybe you will receive a lot of nice, big, luxurious presents while Jupiter transits your 8th house. Oh, you might receive some tax rebates and some financial settlements as well. Then on the 18th of July, the karmic nodes, the north node here like a horseshoe, and always across it the south node like an inverted horseshoe, they change signs. They do it every year and a half. And this time, because they always go retrograde, so they go backwards in zodiacal order. So Rahu, the north node, will enter to Aries, into your 7th house, and Ketu, the south node, will enter into Libra, into your 1st house. And boy, that's important. Anytime your 4 cardinal areas of life, 1st, 7th house, 4th, 10th house, are triggered by some slower, heavier planets, that means that some deep transformation in your life and pivotal events are happening, and some deep realizations and changes. Well, Rahu, the north node, always, they're karmic because they bring fated experiences, lessons, events. And Rahu, the north node, he's also known as the head of the dragon in Vedic astrology and mythology. He talks about our future. He talks about the interest in life, the things we have to learn from and to achieve, the things we desire. Actually, it's super important. And I always, when I do my natal chart reading and analysis with clients, we always speak about the position of Rahu and Ketu in your personal natal chart. But in this case, with transit, the focus as of whole the society shifts every year and a half, 18 months. Of course, on global scale, it's shifting like from Taurus topics like finances and resources and food. Then it will shift into Aries, which is pioneering, discoveries, which is egoism, individualism, and also, unfortunately, Aries is quite a fighty sign. But in your case, Rahu moves into your 7th house. For 1 year and a half, destiny will drag you into what? Into relationships, into partnerships. You will be following others. Maybe you will meet some new people. They might be younger, they might be exotic, they might be very progressive, very technological people. And they, as if, you know, they will grab you by your hand and pull you with them into the future. Of course, maybe we're talking about your partner, and they will experience some new things in their life, like new profession, new place of living. They will have to relocate, let's say, because of work, and you will have to follow them. But overall, like, people will kind of guide you and show you the direction of growth, of evolution, of development, and you will grow and evolve with others, with them. Now, what happens with Ketu? Ketu is much more spiritual energy. Yeah? Rahu is insatiable. Rahu is material. In case you're single, you might need more and more excitement in relationships. You might need more and more meetings and people, and maybe it will expand your clientele again and your business. But with Rahu is like, oh my God, I have never tried this. I need to taste it, and this and that. Rahu is a lot of expectations, so here be careful. Both Jupiter and Rahu in a negative sense can be just like a lot of hopes, a lot of expectations, a lot of curiosity. With Jupiter in Aries, your partners, this is like a little bit more negative side of Jupiter, can be so promising, like they can promise you the moon. They can be so optimistic without any Saturn, without any realistic base. So they can promise and, you know, just like be more bohemian and enjoy just fun and pleasure. But whether they will achieve it, it's question. But I hope only the positive manifestation of Jupiter in Aries here and then in Taurus will play out. In Aries, it can be that this partners of yours will be your heroes, right? If you Libra are like a princess, you know, very refined, very harmonious, able to compromise, able to look from different points of view. And here, maybe you will meet some truly brave, decent, dignified, wise heroes. But yeah, Rahu is a bit more like eccentric. It's a bit more like cutting corners, can be a bit tricky. Rahu and Ketu in Vedic mythology were one demon who tricked gods, who he drank from the elixir of immortality, from the feast of the gods. And the gods realized it. They got angry and they split the demon into two halves. So from then on, he still is present on the sky with other planets, with other deities, other gods. He still stays like a demon in a sense, just that the upper part is the head, thinking about food, about trying, tasting, material things, always looking ahead, always dreaming about something new, something more and more exciting. And Ketu is kind of the tail, is the past. It's not interested in the future. It's excreting things, right? So when Ketu transits your first house, your sun, for example, your moon, your rising sign, there might be a sense of tiredness, of the fact that you feel a bit more maybe nostalgic. You need to let go of some things. You need to dive deep into self-analysis, introspection, stay more on your own. Maybe you are doing some research, especially here with Pluto in the fourth house. Maybe you're researching your ancestry, your roots, your family tree, or any sort of profession that you do that will require more maybe time in the library or in the laboratory, right? So it's more like calm down energy. It's great to let go, to forgive, to heal. Maybe Ketu in the first house will make you change your environment. Maybe you will go back to some old places. When Ketu was transiting my sun, but in the 4th house, I came back home after this decade abroad. So I felt like the city where I was born and raised, it's kind of the same, but not the same anymore. So I needed time to understand what's going on. So I was like a ghost in this city, or the city was like a ghost in my memories, because in reality, it was already different. So it was a bit of a isolated and nostalgic time. With Ketu in the 1st house, you might lose weight, right? You might give up of bad habits. You might basically, yeah, you will be building relationships with others, and quite a lot of them, and quite intense and interesting, exciting. But at the same time, you will need to give up of some old, let's say, principles or old ways of present yourself, something that does not work anymore. And you see, this coincides with the messages of Pluto squaring you and being in your 4th house. You will have to give up some old way of thinking, of behaving, maybe even old environment and relationships. You know, I imagine Ketu in the 1st house like an onion with its layers. So you just peel the outside, these dry layers you don't need anymore, that just are preventing you to interact better, in a better way with your environment. You might change your style. You might open some old picture book, see yourself like with a haircut from 20 years ago, and you will be like, hey, that was nice. It suited me. So I'll go back to the same old style I had already. You might decide that you want a plastic surgery even, because Rahu and Ketu, oftentimes they talk about something artificial. So you might be like, oh, I want to be just like I was 20 years ago, for instance. Later, I will mention to you about retrograde Venus and which dates in 2023 will not be the best for plastic surgeries. But to finish the topic about the karmic nodes and your attention and focus this year, also, the karmic nodes bring with them the eclipses. And in 2023, we will have 4 eclipses. Pretty normal situation, I would say. We have a solar eclipse on the 20th of April, and it will happen at 29 degrees Aries. Maybe this falls still in your 7th house. Well, according to the whole sign system, for sure. And it will be squared by Pluto, by the way. Then Pluto will be between the karmic nodes. So it means some, solar eclipse is a very powerful new moon. So it will be a very powerful new beginning in relation to your partnerships and contracts and agreements. And Pluto might mean that it's a transformation related to your family, property, or status. Then on the 5th of May, we have a lunar eclipse at 14 degrees Scorpio, your 2nd house with Ketu. So there's some culminations, realizations, and endings related to finances, to sources of income, obviously work, investments, and your own self-esteem. Then on the 14th of October, we have a solar eclipse at 21 degrees Libra. And here, of course, you will feel it the most if your sun, moon, or rising sign are around the 21st degree. It's going to be with Ketu and with Mercury. So 1st house. So solar eclipse means something new, but first we need to let go of something old. And it might be about a style of communication, pattern of thinking, some old contracts and agreements and relationships might fade away in order to open up new path for you. There might be some, working with some documents, business, trips, and some, kind of a self-expression in a sense. You might speak out your truth. Don't worry. If everything goes well next year, I will be making videos about every single of those events I talk here in general, but in more specific way for each sign. And lastly, on the 28th of October, we have a lunar eclipse in Taurus, 5 degrees of Taurus, with Rahu with the North Node, that's your 8th house. So lunar eclipse, some revelations, knowledge, culmination, emotional one, maybe about some intimate partnerships or related to business or to finances, passive incomes, shared resources. So something new will start if you first finish something old again. Of course, it might be very intense emotional time as well. Good time to liberate yourself from fears and bad habits. And now about Venus. Yes, usually Venus spends 1 month in each sign on her way, astrological path. But in 2023, she will stay 4 months in Leo. That's 4 times more. So it's significant. Why? Because she will be retrograde. But first, generally, she will stay in Leo from 6th of June till the 10th of October. Venus is a positive planet and she will enhance 11th house. Your social contacts, your friendships, Venus, maybe you will befriend more young women. Maybe you will join some activities together with them, like yoga club or dancing lessons, or you will be involved in some volunteering, charity, or social activities to help young women. Maybe you will have some financial deals with your friends and like-minded people, because Venus is money. So you will get money from some shared ventures and group projects. 11th house is also the money and acknowledgement you get for your career, for your 10th house efforts and merits. So Venus in 11th house, wow, can bring you bonuses, additional salaries. Maybe your career is like a mommy, maybe you give birth and you go on maternity leave, and there you go, 11th house, you receive presents from your friends on the baby shower, and then you receive state support in maternity leave. That could be like also Jupiter in 8th house with money that come your way without being from your work. Yeah, recognitions, audience will accept you very well because 11th house is being popular, is being a teacher, being in front of a public. Online activities will bring you pleasure, joy, and money. Love, maybe you will meet Venus love, a partner amongst your friends or online or during this social or political campaigns, if you will be involved in something related to the society overall. And 11th house is your hopes, dreams, and wishes. So Venus here will sweeten them, of course, will enhance them. You will gracefully receive kind of the manifestation of your dreams, let's say, and wishes. But let's pay attention to the period between 23rd of July and 4th of September, when Venus will be retrograde. Of course, it's not a comfortable position for the planet, as if she moves backwards. So Venus might be confused about her own Venusian topics. It's a good time when Venus is retrograde to reassess, reevaluate. Yeah, Venus is the value we give to things, is what we value in things, in people, what value things can have for us, how others value us. So here you might reevaluate your friends. Like, do you feel supported by them? Do you enjoy their company? Do they share your vision? Is it just empty waste of time? Are they really truly your friends? Yeah, can you rely on them? Is it pleasant to be with them? Do they treasure you? Do they value you? You might reassess exactly your goals, dreams, and wishes. Is it too superficial? Do you spend too much time on it? Is it worthy? Yeah, Venus retrograde usually asks, is it worthy my time and my efforts to achieve this and that? If yes, then okay, I continue, I make a plan how to achieve it. If not, then I move on to a next better goal. Maybe you will be, while Venus is retrograde, maybe you will be paid some old debts, something that was owed to you by managers, bosses, you know, some kind of old salary. And while Venus is retrograde overall for all of us, is not a good idea to start new relationships, because we might just be confused. We might just have this rose-colored glasses, and then once Venus goes again direct, we will see better this person next to us, or these friends, this group of people, and we realize that we don't like them as we thought we did while she was retrograde. So it's not a good idea. Oh, it might be vice versa, by the way. You might meet some people or a person that first you're like, I don't like this person. But then you will realize that actually they're pretty cool and you can be friends. Yeah, it's just not good for friendships or love from first sight. Then it's really not a good time to make plastic surgeries, to make some new style, some cosmetic procedures. It's not a good time to make expensive purchases, because once again, later on, you might not like it, or you will discover better deals. That is why Venus retrograde is way better to research. Yeah, if you want to buy a couch or a car, then you just compare prices, you research, maybe you ask, you contact people, but then you make your final move and you pay money and buy it already after she becomes direct. Yeah, so reassessment, reevaluation, choosing, trying on maybe different clothes to see what fits you the best, and deciding upon some group projects and friendships. And last but not least, Mercury will be retrograde next year 3 times. First time between the 21st of April to 15th of May in the sign of Taurus. So reassessing your intimate relationships and passive incomes, and diving even deeper in psychology and esoterics. Then from the 23rd of August till the 15th of September, Mercury will be retrograding in Virgo, in your 12th house, another deep emotional house. And here you will be diving into the past, reassessing the past, revising memories, maybe collecting papers and documents for future emigration, doing regressions, self-analysis, constellations, yeah, some psychological healing and spiritual work will be very much here appreciated as well. By the way, you might be finding some old lost things, and it's good for just planning, strategizing ahead. And finally, from the 13th of December to the 1st of January 2024, Mercury will be retrograding from Capricorn into Sagittarius. If you have your IC between the 0 and 8th degree of Capricorns, Mercury will be crossing it 3 times. So some important decisions related to home, family, property, place of living, especially because 3rd house talks about document, business, buying, selling, relocation, movement, travels, and also you might regain contact, reestablish contact with family, with parents, or even with relatives and siblings. So, dear Libras, if we take just a general overview, look at this chart as if it's your own natal chart. You will see that all the slowly moving planets are located in your right hemisphere. This is the hemisphere of destiny. This is the hemisphere of other people, consultants, advisors, teachers, your partners, your clients. So you will communicate with people a lot. You might need to negotiate, to compromise, to follow them. Like kind of destiny will bring you where you have to go anyways, right? So it's not so much about you acting upon your own desires and building your own destiny by your own. No, it's all about collaboration, cooperation, contracts, agreements and following the lead advices, let's say, hopefully positive ones, of others. And look, this is reinforced by the fact of Rahu transiting your 7th house and Ketu transiting your 1st house. So less about yourself, less about the ego and more about the others. But of course, you have to be careful here with some codependent relationships, please. Yeah, because Pluto will be transforming your emotional world, your passions and relationships with loved ones and children. Saturn will make you work on your health, diet, and daily routine and work. But Jupiter will help you again through other people and other people resources and finances. And Venus will help you through your friends. You see how nice. Well, dear Libras, that's how the very broad strokes, the very general overview for all Libras for all 2023 looks like, even though you see that I'm trying to be as much specific as I can and go into details. But of course, much more customized and personal would be a yearly forecast created especially for you, like part of my astrological services. I offer 2 types of services. I offer natal chart readings and personal customized yearly forecast. And they happen slightly on different manners, because the natal chart reading is done live via Skype conversation. The natal chart, the forecast for the year ahead, I do based on your natal charts. That is why it's so precise, so personal, because we take in consideration your degrees, your planets' degrees, what they rule in your horoscope, in which houses they are, what is their connection, and so on. So for the yearly forecast, I use the transits, which I use here in these videos, but I also use a couple of other astrological forecasting techniques, which tell me which houses, which areas of life and planets are active specifically this year for you. You can purchase this forecast whether at the beginning of a calendar year, right? Like now, 2023 is coming, so you want it for the year ahead, or before your birthday, because then the forecast is even more personal, as it's focused on your personal new year, this solar year for you specifically. Of course, while I work on this natal chart readings and the yearly forecasts, we communicate with you, with the client. So you share with me your current situation, what you worry about, what you need to know. So, you know, that's why it's called customized, right? Because it's not just so general, but it's according to where you stand currently in your life. So we see all the planets' influences, all the transits, how they trigger you, what does it mean, and you know, like, my readings are definitely not fatalistic. You can tell that I use more psychology. So astrology is not about to tell you, you will get married, or you will divorce, or you will have a cat, or you will have a parrot, or you will never have like parrots nor cats, you know, nor kids or something like this. I don't use in my work words like always or never. We look for reasons and we look for causes and effects. We explain why you can feel this way or that way, what are the reasons, the planetary, like astrologically, and what you can do about it, how in the best way you can use a transit. Because everything has 2 sides. Yeah, it can be tougher or not as tough. You can use it for this or for that. And I always try to give advices and possible solutions, but more like advices, because again, solution deprives you from your personal choice. While, yeah, I prefer to give, like, I give overview, energies, better period, more intense period, and advices, what you can do with such information and such transits. So dear Libras, thank you so much for watching, liking, sharing this video, for the ones who reached till the very end of it. I hope this information is interesting and useful for you. You can, down below in the description under the video, I leave my contacts. If you have some additional questions about the yearly forecast or my services overall, I leave below the links to my Facebook and Instagram page. If you want to support financially me, my work, my channel, then you can do it through the heart button right below the video with a like a dollar symbol inside. It's the gratitude button, or through my PayPal account, which I also leave in the description below the video. I hope you will have an amazing, beautiful, powerful, empowering for you year with only positive developments and positive development of situation in your life. I wish you abundance. I wish you support of the right people in your life, shared love, good health, and of course, all the best for you in 2023. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.